So recently on TikTok, I came across a video that posed a very interesting question. And that question was, what if Rengoku took Akaza's offer? That is to say, what if Rengoku, instead of dying during the Mugen Train arc, decided to become a demon right alongside Akaza so they could train together for the rest of time? What would happen to the story? How strong would Rengoku be? Would he be one of the upper moons? And honestly, it's one of the funnest hypotheticals I've come across in a long time. Listen, I'm fully in the know that Rengoku would never in a million years become a demon. It's just not who he is. But in the situation that desperation takes over Rengoku and he takes Akaza's offer, what would happen? Would he shoot through the ranks of the upper moon and become upper rank 1, being only challenged by Kokishibo and Muzan? Would he go on a legendary killing spree that gave him his own blood demon art that was based on his flame breathing? Or would he become just another demon? Well, today we're hoping to answer those questions, because today we're talking, what if Rengoku became a demon? But before we get to talking any hypothetical, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. And I got another hypothetical for you. Would a good fan of my content not follow my anime podcast called Otaku's Anonymous that I do every week with Danny Mata, where me and him break down everything that happened in anime this week, and it's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts? I don't know. One of those questions you're gonna have to ponder. Before we get into that, guys, today we're gonna talk about one of our favorite new sponsors to the page, NordVPN. I've been using NordVPN for years now, because let's be real, as anime fans, a VPN is our best friend. Not only am I able to access international libraries for streaming services, so I can find any anime I want with a singular click, but I also get online protection with a singular click, because NordVPN doesn't only allow me to be at home when I'm away from home, or away from home when I'm at home, but they also protect me from malware with their threat protection system. And I know what you're saying.
VPNs slow down your computer to an unusable rate.
That is not something you need to worry about with NordVPN, as it is the world's fastest VPN. And on top of that, NordVPN doesn't track or share what you do online. Not to mention that your data is always protected with high-level encryption. And their dark web monitor feature tells you if somebody leaks your credentials. And if you're loving the idea of NordVPN, then you're gonna love their other products, like NordPass, which keeps track of all of your passwords across all different platforms in a safe, secure, and easy to access, for you at least, way. They also have NordLocker, which is an easy to use encrypted cloud storage system. It keeps your files backed up, synced, and protected from people who'd want to get their hands on them. So what are you guys waiting for? Use the link in my description, pinned comment, or go to nordvpn.com/weebcommander to sign up for NordVPN today. It's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. But trust me, when you sign up, it's gonna be hard not to see the value that NordVPN is supplying to you. Let's get to surfing safely and unlocking all of the anime we can get our grubby little hands on. So Rengoku, one of the most legendary characters in the recent years of anime. Rengoku only really shows up for what, 6 or 7 episodes throughout all of Demon Slayer, and yet his on-screen presence was so spectacularly brilliant and well told that he's gotten 2 spin-off mangas. It's gotten to the point that people on TikTok ask whether or not people would bring back Rengoku or Jiraiya, as his death cemented him as one of the most legendary yet short-lived characters in anime history. And honestly, what wasn't there to love about him? He was high-spirited, kind, he was always there when you needed him, he was a big brother to Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro, and when life looked bleak as Akaza was standing there with his hand through his chest, he didn't give up. He didn't give into the idea of becoming a demon to avoid death, because he understood that a human life gains its value from the fact that it ends one day. And because of that, in a total of 1 hour of screen time, Rengoku left a lasting impression on us larger than about 80% of anime characters out there. But what if in that final moment, that final stand against Akaza, he decided he did want to keep on living? He wanted to throw his convictions out the window strictly to stay alive. God knows I would have. And in that moment of desperation, accepted Akaza's blood, became a demon. Well, fortunately for Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke, the consequences wouldn't have been immediate. Assuming that Rengoku only accepted Akaza's blood at the end of their fight, they both would have had to run away anyways, as the sun was coming up. So it's not like Rengoku would have become a demon and then him and Akaza would have double teamed the very injured Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke. The big three very much would have survived Mugen Train. And while I know usually when we talk about hypotheticals, I do a big dive into how the plot would change, I don't believe that Rengoku turning into a demon would change the plot of Demon Slayer Slayer that much. I mean, obviously Tanjiro wouldn't get the tidbit of information he got from Rengoku while he was dying about going to his father to learn about sun breathing, which means in some capacity that Tanjiro would have to find another way to figure out what sun breathing was. And then obviously Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke wouldn't look up to Rengoku anymore. Those are really the only immediate circumstances that change by Rengoku not dying and instead turning into a demon. To go even further beyond that, I don't think we would see Rengoku again until the Infinity Castle arc. Because obviously after the Mugen Train arc, we have the Entertainment District arc, which features Daki and Gyotaro. And then after that, we have the Swordsmith Village arc that features Gyoko and Hantengu. And then after that is the Hashira Training arc, which doesn't really feature any of the Upper Moons. And then obviously there's the Infinity Castle arc, which revolves around Akaza, Kaigaku, Doma, and Muzan, and also Kokishiba. And I genuinely don't think we would see this demonified version of Rengoku until then. Because here's the thing, upon Rengoku becoming a demon, he wouldn't be all that strong. He would have to kill a bunch of people and consume them to gain strength, and he would also have to get more of Muzan's blood. And all of this takes time, and the time between the Mugen Train and Infinity Castle arc is, I think, less than a year. So to assume that Rengoku would achieve enough strength to become one of the primary antagonists of one of the arcs prior to Infinity Castle is a bit of a stretch. The beauty of this situation is that we don't really have to hypothesize about how strong Rengoku would be. Because if Rengoku did become a demon, he wouldn't be the first demon who knew total concentration breathing. That is to say that he wouldn't be the first demon slayer turned demon. He would be the third relevant one. I'm sure there's a bunch of others. The first and most obvious example of a demon slayer turned demon is Kokishiba, who was Yoruichi, the original sun breather, the man who almost killed Muzan's brother. And while strength-wise, Kokishiba as a human and Rengoku might have been comparable, at the end of the day, Kokishiba was probably significantly stronger than Rengoku ever was as a human, as Kokishiba, while he was alive, awoke a demon slayer mark. So Kokishiba not only was a master of moon breathing, which has the most forms out of any breathing style, but he was also a master of total concentration breathing and had a demon slayer mark, which gave him access to transparent world, which means that even before Kokishiba even became a demon, he could see through people's bodies. He could read what people were going to do based on how their blood was circulating or their muscles were moving. Transparent world in the demon slayer world is a very powerful upgrade. So Kokishiba became a demon after being a stronger demon slayer than Rengoku. Add this into the fact that Kokishiba was almost 500 years old and has therefore had 500 years to master his swordsmanship, and comparing a freshly born demon in Rengoku to him is very apples to oranges. So to say that Rengoku, because he was a Hashira that got turned into a demon, would be on the level of Kokishiba is a crazy pull. Doma actually tells Akaza that even though Akaza has been training for 113 years, that he will never approach the skill of either Doma or Kokishiba. And mind you, Akaza was a martial artist who was capable of defeating 70 full-grown martial artist men simultaneously before he became a demon. So it's not like he was some scrub when he was turned into a demon either. No, the much more accurate comparison when talking about how powerful Rengoku would be with a year as a demon under his belt heading into the Infinity Castle arc is Kaigaku. Now, unfortunately, Kaigaku exists well below Hashira in terms of power as a demon slayer, but the distance between Kaigaku as a demon and Rengoku as a demon is substantially smaller than the distance between Kokishiba and Rengoku. So who is Kaigaku? For those of you who are anime only, you've only met him a couple of times, and he's definitely not a demon yet. So this is kind of a spoiler, but it's also not that important. See, Kaigaku was the person who trained with Zenitsu under the former Lightning Hashira. Now, the former Lightning Hashira said that both Kaigaku and Zenitsu would be his predecessors. And honestly, it kind of made sense because they both excelled in areas that the other very much did not. See, there are 7 forms to lightning breathing. I'm sorry, it's thunder breathing. I don't know why I keep calling it lightning breathing. And Kaigaku mastered forms 2 through 7, but could never master the first form of thunder breathing, thunderclap and flash. Now, ironically, this is the only form that Zenitsu ever mastered. Now, the reason that that's ironic is because it said that you need to master the first form of thunder breathing to truly master the other 6. So the fact that the last 6 and the first one were both mastered separately by different people is weird because you would assume that by mastering one, you'd be able to master the other. Unfortunately for Kaigaku, sometime during the Hashira training arc, he bumps into Kokishiba, who he very quickly realizes he cannot kill. Therefore, he elects to become a demon, which once again, would have done the same thing. And after demonifying, Kaigaku goes on a bit of a killing spree. And in fact, he goes on such a killing spree that very quickly he shoots up through the ranks of the demons. In fact, he shoots so high up that he becomes the replacement upper 6 moon, replacing Gyotaro and Daki. Now this is surprising because as a demon slayer, Kaigaku was nothing special. Like we stated, he was a thunder breather who couldn't use one of the most fundamental moves of thunder breathing, thunderclap and flash. And therefore, Rengoku, who was a literal Hashira, is definitely stronger than Kaigaku so far as being a demon slayer goes. But after Kaigaku demonifies, he finds a way to make up for the fact that he doesn't know thunderclap and flash, and that is his blood demon art. See, Kaigaku's blood demon art is electrokinesis. Remember how the mangaka came out and said that all of the breathing forms that everybody uses don't actually generate the things that they're named after? So that is to say that Rengoku's flame breathing doesn't actually make flames, it just emulates flames? Well, that rule doesn't apply to demons. And therefore, Kaigaku not only knew total concentration breathing and 6 forms of thunder breathing, but now he could generate actual lightning and electricity to go along with his thunder breathing. And generating that actual lightning and electricity supplemented the strength and the speed that he lost by not knowing thunderclap and flash, which pretty much made him low to mid Hashira level, which falls in line with previous upper moon 6s, like Gyotaro and Daki, who were low to mid Hashira level, being a good fight for the likes of Tengen, but would probably be fodder for people like Gyu or Sanemi or Moishiro or even Openeye. But like we've already stated, Rengoku was a stronger demon slayer than Kaigaku. Because Kaigaku was demonified during the Hashira training arc, this would mean that Rengoku would have a couple of month head start, which wouldn't confer to that much more power, but would definitely help. So in the year that Rengoku has between the Mugen Train and the Infinity Castle arc, how far does he make it up the upper moon ladder? Well, assuming like Kaigaku, he leans into being a demon and starts killing people and develops his own blood demon art, I reckon he would still make it pretty far. But that's also depending on what Rengoku's blood demon art would be, which I have a theory about. See, Rengoku in Japanese quite literally means purgatory, which is an interesting translation considering that there's nothing about him that's purgatory-y. Rengoku was a symbol of light in a very dark world. Regardless of what was thrown at him, he faced it with a smile. See, his name meaning purgatory doesn't even make sense when you consider his abilities, as his abilities were fire-based, which is usually more associated with hell, and purgatory is supposed to be the middle between heaven and hell. However, Kyojuro, when broken down into its 3 kanji syllables, gives us a bigger hint as to why Rengoku was named what he was. See, Kyo in Japanese actually means apricot, and Japanese apricots are orange and red, while the Ju in Kyojuro is a festive and happy character in kanji, usually placed on envelopes containing money for birthday parties or holidays. And Ro just means man. It's a common ending to first names in Japanese, so his first name is supposed to show his festive nature in the orange and red in his hair, symbolizing that he burns brightly like a fire. But the Rengoku meaning purgatory makes me believe that if he had a blood demon art, that it would have something to do with the concept of both purgatory and flames. See, I believe that if Rengoku had a blood demon art, he would have some kind of pyrokinesis, much in the same vein as Nezuko. However, obviously it wouldn't only work against demons. I believe if Rengoku had something like a blood demon art, it would be called something like purgatory flames. And these flames would obviously burn you, it's pyrokinesis after all, but more than anything, these flames, if they came into contact with you, would freeze you. It would cast your soul into a purgatory-like existence where you couldn't control your body anymore. And therefore, not only would you burn if you came into contact with these flames, but you wouldn't be able to avoid them any longer. And thus, you would burn in purgatory. Now, considering the fact that Kaigaku in the course of a couple months, if not a couple of weeks, was able to master a blood demon art, I think that Rengoku, who was a Hashira, would have enough time to figure out this blood demon art and use it well. So how far would Rengoku with this pyrokinesis blood demon art make it up the upper moon ladder? Well, considering the fact that there was a vacancy at upper moon 6, that's probably where he would start. Actually, there wasn't a vacancy quite yet, but there was soon to be a vacancy. I then believe Rengoku as a demon with any amount of training would be stronger than both Hantengu and Gyoko. The difference between the lower 3 of the upper 6 and the upper 3 of the upper 6 is massive, borderline insurmountable. And I think that Rengoku, the pyrokinesis ability, is technically a hard counter to Sohakuten, who basically has wood release, as Rengoku would be able to burn away any of the wood he controlled. Tie this into the fact that Rengoku would still have a Nichiren sword, which means he could still technically kill the other demons if he wanted to. So I think Rengoku clears Hantengu relatively easily. Now, Rengoku is not as strong as Moishiro. It's kind of sad for Rengoku because Moishiro is 14. But if you did give Rengoku an infinite stamina body that could rejuvenate whenever he wants on top of a blood demon art, I'm gonna say he's probably somewhere in Moishiro's level of power. And now I'm not gonna spoil the Swordsmith Village arc, but let's just say that Moishiro stands a pretty good chance against Gyoko. So I think with relative ease, Rengoku, after a year or so of training and getting used to being a demon, makes it to at least upper rank 4. However, that's kind of where he stops. See, when Rengoku was battling against Akaza wasn't taking him super seriously. Akaza was looking at it more as a spar. He wanted to fight somebody powerful enough to keep him entertained. And considering what we know about Akaza from the Infinity Castle arc, the battle was never close. Because we know from the Infinity Castle arc that Akaza is immune to being beheaded. Even if you do behead him, the head that you cut off will just turn to ash and he'll regrow a new one on top of the severed neck. So even if Rengoku had finished what he was doing against Akaza probably would have been fine. Really, the only way that Rengoku would have killed Akaza in that moment is if he was able to hold on long enough to get Akaza into the sunlight. So the difference in power during the Mugen Train arc was quite large. Now, as humans, Rengoku was significantly stronger than Akaza was when he became a demon. Yes, obviously Akaza came from a martial arts background and he was able to defeat 70 grown men, but Rengoku was able to move so fast he was imperceptible to the eye. He was a master of total concentration breathing, and he fought on somewhat equal terms with Akaza after 113 years of training as a demon. But Akaza has just had too much time. Like I said, he's had 113 years as a demon, and every day of those 113 years, Akaza has focused on getting stronger. But since Rengoku would start out as a stronger demon than Akaza started out, if you gave Rengoku 100 or so years, I believe that eventually he would overcome Akaza. Maybe even less than that, maybe 10 years, 20 years. Because as Rengoku came into his own as a demon, him having total concentration breathing and a Nichiren sword and flame breathing would eventually give him an advantage over Akaza. But as it currently stands, Akaza just has way more experience. I mean, in the Infinity Castle arc, Akaza battles against a marked Tanjiro and marked Gyu simultaneously and does very well. But what does this mean for Rengoku? Sure, he would be upper rank 4, but what does that mean for him within the confines of the plot? Well, if Rengoku wouldn't be stronger than Akaza, then he's gonna die during the Infinity Castle arc, and most likely at the hands of Mitsuri and Obina. At least they would be the most appropriate people to dispatch him. See, Mitsuri is not the strongest Hashira, and while Rengoku and Mitsuri were both still alive, Rengoku was definitely the stronger Hashira. And this makes sense when you consider the fact that Rengoku is quite literally the person who trained Mitsuri, as Mitsuri, prior to love breathing, was actually a disciple of Rengoku learning flame breathing. However, by the time that the Infinity Castle arc rolls around, Mitsuri is a marked individual, and this Demon Slayer mark boosts her strength, flexibility, and speed to a level where she's able to stand toe-to-toe with some of the strongest demons in the universe on equal footing, specifically, ironically, against upper rank 4. Now, Mitsuri having this battle against Rengoku in the Infinity Castle arc is important for a numerous amount of reasons. One, because her marked strength would put her in a very comparable region to a demified Rengoku, and 2, because obviously Rengoku was her teacher. Therefore, if it was anybody's right to put Rengoku down and end his demon reign of terror, it should be Mitsuri. And Open-Eye's there because he's Mitsuri's love interest, and objectively, he does the least in the Infinity Castle arc, so he's got some free time to help out. And it would actually be a pretty beautiful moment of Mitsuri finally letting her teacher rest, as Mitsuri would show that the principles that he instilled in her were still there and still living on through her. And even though he wavered from those principles temporarily and demified himself, they still live on in somebody else, showing that with his life, even though it didn't look great right now, he still accomplished a fair amount of good. But what if there was no Infinity Castle arc on the horizon? What if Rengoku had infinite time? See, look, we've already stated, if Rengoku had 10 or 20 or 100 years, I believe eventually he would catch up with Akaza. Though it would be relatively tough, especially when you consider the fact that Akaza's entire reason for becoming a demon is so that every day he can become stronger, so that he can achieve a plane of power only accessible to those who have an infinite amount of time to dedicate to strengthening themselves. However, Doma has on more than one occasion told Akaza that he will never catch up to him in terms of power, and pretty much everything we've seen backs up that point. So even though Rengoku would be able to eventually catch up with Akaza and get the Upper Moon 3 spot, could he get the 2 spot? And honestly, I think maybe he could. See, obviously we're assuming that Rengoku does a ton of work and eats a ton of people and gets so much of Muzan's blood. But through a combination of total concentration breathing, flame breathing, and actual pyrokinesis, Rengoku would kind of be the perfect counter against Doma, whose blood demon art is cryokinesis, controlling ice. And I think we all know in a battle between fire and ice, fire usually wins. Now, obviously total concentration breathing doesn't mean that much when you're a demon because you already have infinite stamina. But I think through the combination of Rengoku's hypothetical blood demon art and his training as a demon slayer, he would eventually be enough to overcome Doma, which would make the top 2 demons in Muzan's army both former demon slayers. However, unfortunately, regardless of how much time Rengoku had to train, he would never catch up with Kokishiba, because regardless of how much he trains, as a demon, he'll never awake a demon slayer mark, which means Kokishiba will always have a very powerful leg up on him. So unfortunately, if Rengoku turned into a demon, it wouldn't change the story that much. Sure, we would get a touching moment between him and Mitsuri, and it would change the public perception around Rengoku. But plot-wise, Demon Slayer would probably end how Demon Slayer ends now, with the only exception that OpenEye, who basically went into the final fight against Muzan untouched and unfazed by basically everything, would be a little dinged up. But then again, what do I know? What do you guys think would happen if Rengoku turned into a demon? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. I'll tell you one thing that would change: Rengoku wouldn't have sold nearly as many statues.